What's up, guys? Welcome to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Tesla stock, ticker symbol TSLA, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Monday, June 3rd. All right, guys, Tesla stock finished out this last week here on Friday, down 71 cents a share. That's minus 0.4% in regular trading days. Listen, let's take a look at this name and get the absolute best feel we possibly can by pulling out everything the market gave us here this last, well, I suppose week, Friday, as we head into now tomorrow. We're going to pull out the directional bias out of the volume profile. We'll look at the psychological trading levels that we need to be aware of, implied volatility. We'll look at the expected move for tomorrow and the directional bias coming out of the chain for tomorrow. So let's get started here with a quick volume profile analysis to pull out any directional bias on the 5-minute chart. And hey guys, listen, if you're new here or if you're just enjoying the daily Tesla coverage, listen, Tesla is of course a daily upload. Please hit the like button. That lets YouTube know to drip these into your feed to make it easy for you to find these videos daily. I will keep feeding you the Tesla videos daily in return. All right, now let's take a look under the hood and see what we can pull out in terms of bullish or bearish bias. Off the open, rather contextual. We dripped down a little slower than what is normal. However, we were seeing volume on both sides contributing to that. So really no bias that at least I feel comfortable assigning off the open. None really whatsoever. Throughout the entire day was a similar story. And coming into the close, we started to get this ramp up, which is very normal. That's very contextual to start getting that ramp up heading into the close. Now, this is perhaps, it started a little bit more aggressively than what we're used to. Usually it's a little more gradual. We saw kind of a pop and then sustained move upside in volume. So it was a green close. So let's, we'll consider that. I'm not going to go out of my way to assign anything crazy there though. This bar here, over 6 million shares immediately after the bell. Notice how almost no actual movement on the bar. That looks very scary. That's a rebalancing bar. I tend to ignore those whether they are green or red because it's a lot of junk volume being triggered by algorithms with really no actual movement whatsoever. It's simply rebalancing being done by institutions. So since we had kind of a small to moderate red day on Tesla back on Friday, bears, when we're looking at the volume profile, it would be nice to see some small to moderate bearish bias, right? Whereas bulls, ideally, you'd really want to see nothing because the price action already happened. We know that it was down, and that's kind of what we got. We really got no bias whatsoever. A little bit disappointing for bears and kind of what you bulls might have hoped to see on a day like this. So let's move on and take a look at the psychological self-fulfilling prophecy trading levels that we know there's going to be a lot of decisions being made around here tomorrow. Let's take a look. If you guys remember now, back on Thursday, we had talked a lot about how we had just barely reclaimed both of these levels, the 200 period, that gray line, and the 50 period, that white line. Well, now back here on Friday, guys, seeing that we saw the quicker moving average, the 50, cross over the 200, that's fine. The crossover itself, to me, means nothing. Okay, the golden cross, it's overhyped, and to be fair, it's much more relevant if we are going to consider it on the daily, though again, I think it's overhyped in all time frames. However, we almost gave up both of these here on Friday. We barely reclaimed at least the 200 period into the close. Okay, these moving averages are now very close together, but we barely closed above the 50. I'm not confident enough in the late day reclaim like that to say that we reclaimed both. I will say that we reclaimed at least the 200 period. The 50, guys, is anyone's ball game here tomorrow. So bulls, here's what we want to see. If we could treat that 50 as a support level and start pulling upside away on higher volume away from the 50 period here on the 30-minute, that would start dragging it upside, separating it from the 200 period and really putting us in the position that we want to be in. Bears. It's time to get down. I mean, the moving averages are very close together. So you bears could get beneath both very quickly and then retest whichever one happens to be lower upon the retest and then reject back hard on lower volume. That puts you in the same position, just mirrored, that the bulls would be in upon the first explanation, just mirrored to fit your guys' narrative, I suppose. That's how you guys win the 30-minute here tomorrow. Now, the 4-hour chart on Tesla, you guys can see the 50 period is still an absolute battleground. Bears, you guys want to finally claim that as resistance. You have not been able to do so for the entirety of the last at least couple of weeks. Bulls, we claimed it hard back here on the 21st of May, but we very quickly gave it up just within a couple of days. Okay, so Bulls, if we can kind of start using this 50 period as more of a tough level of support, like not as sloppy as it's been this last week, actually start treating it as a support level, that would be a beautiful start to the week here tomorrow. Now, the most important chart of all, guys, is going to be the daily. You can see that we've been hovering above that 50-day moving average now for a couple of weeks. And we find ourselves currently about 3.5% away from retesting the 50-day. Honestly, guys, the more important story here to me is clearly 180. 180 has been a level of interest going back about at least a month minimum, even further than that if we wanted to zoom out. But 180 is clearly a level that has been relatively indecisive. So bears, if you guys could continue to reject that like you have the last couple of weeks, that would be a great continuation and buy you some time to hopefully break the 50-day to the downside here in the near future. Bulls, we don't want the 50-day on the bears menu. How do we put some distance in between Tesla and the 50-day? Well, claiming 180 is a great way to put a psychological level in between the stock and the 50-day moving average. If we can get up through 180, retest it on low volume, and bounce, that's a claim of support. Okay, that's a good thing to see. Now, implied volatility, in comparison to the last week now, as of Friday, we are a little bit high. In comparison to the last month, we are certainly relatively high. And in comparison to the last 3 months, I would say we're in the mid, some might argue mid to low range. All right. Now, the expected move here tomorrow. We have weekly expirations to work with on Tesla. So what do we have? The next expiration we have here is Friday, June 7th. The expected move by Friday's close compared to this last Friday's close is plus or minus $9.06 a share. Here's what we do. Divide that by 5 trading days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then add back 50% because the initial calculation assumes all green days or all red days. That's a silly assumption. All right, we have to add back. In this market, I am adding back 50%. Remember, this is educated guesswork. We're doing the absolute best we can. 50 in this market is seemingly the most accurate. I'll make that adjustment when needed. However, I don't need to make that adjustment yet. So it's plus or minus $2.72 per share is the approximate, with a little bit of educated guesswork, 1 standard deviation expected volatility out of Tesla by tomorrow's close compared to Friday's close. And now the directional bias, we'll look at volume. Over 2 million contracts traded on Friday, great sample size. 1.27 million calls, 751,000 puts. So a bullish bias out of the overall call put ratio back on Friday. And if we want to go short-term speculators from the 0 to 20 delta range, 578,000 calls, 261,000 puts. Call heavy bias out of the short-term speculators here as well. Guys, listen, if you want to get my daily scalp setup alerts, in-play stock alerts, unusual options activity, all human verified by me, by the way, I've been tracking that for years. That's how I keep track of what the whales are doing. Take a look at that link in the pinned comment. That link will let you get grandfathered in and make you immune to the price raises that are coming here in the near future. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.